I'm Maddy Dever, the Autistic Rambler. Welcome to the podcast. Let's get right in.
Hello and welcome to Across the Desk. My name is Elizabeth Plouffe and I am the host of Across the Desk. And I am blessed beyond sprinkles and unicorns to welcome Maddy Dever as we continue our Autistic Rambler podcast. You going to say hi?
I'm going to say hi. Thank you for introducing me. I enjoy sharing the rainbows and unicorns that I come across. And anytime I have an opportunity to chat with you is a blessing for both of us.
Aw, you kiss butt nicely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We both have a thing for Funko Pops and unicorns and a variety of magical moments, which is awesome. So we are here today. Today is a Thursday, and the reason that's significant is that it's also sunny-ish outside. And our weather, I mean, Maddy's coming to us from outside of Ottawa, Carleton Place.
Yep.
Oh, there you go. And I'm in Burlington, but we are both in Southern Ontario, which experiences a rather wide swing of weather on any given day. And so why is that significant? So Maddy and I had a chat yesterday, and one of the things I have a growing concern about is the amount of inside time the autism community participates in. And my own son included. He is very active and gets outside and what have you, but there are certainly times where my normal for getting outside intrudes on his need to be inside. And so what we are going to chit chat a bit about today is that with July fast approaching, this is actually another example of intersectionality, because not only is there issues. I mean, I don't like using that word. We'll find a better word someday.
Challenges.
Sure. Challenges and opportunities for the autism community and getting outside and not being social. That's not what we're talking about today at all. Just getting outside. But one of the reasons we're talking about this is Maddy made a really interesting point yesterday that his particular intersectionality around getting outside is his autism and his little buzz share that gets him around the world. So tell me a little bit, Maddy, because you still travel quite extensively and get outside, but you have a very unique perspective on the challenges, but also the benefits.
I mean, it is, for a lot of autistics, one of the reasons we stay inside is, being on our technology. Sometimes it's easier for us to connect to a digital virtual world than the world around us because of difficulties with people. But I've always liked being outside. As a kid, I grew up in a time where you went out until you heard your mother yelling from the city, or you were, I remember the
street lights come on, you come home.
Exactly. When the lights come on, we come home, and that was, we used to hang around a light standard, with our bikes and whatnot. And the moment that went on, we all dispersed home. And, that was my life. Me and my sister, we played outside. We did everything. I did every outdoor sport. So I have personally been an outdoor person. As an adult, in the last, 10 years, I've had different physical disabilities, physical challenges, especially with mobility, especially with with walking far. And so I didn't go out as much. And I definitely, looking back, think that my isolation, I didn't feel I could walk far. So I didn't go out as much. I didn't go playing any sports. I didn't do stuff with my kids. I really, got really insular in my home. Now, 2 years ago,
that was not without cause, though. So I will justify by saying that Maddy has numerous physical limitations around getting outside and being mobile.
Yeah.
They will share that at their discretion. So when they mentioned this, it is very serious. They are not in any way stating I have a sore thumb and, no can do. Like, this is significant.
Yeah. I could have gone outside and sat on a porch. I could have gone to the backyard and did some stuff. But because I was challenged in going beyond that, I didn't go out as much as all. I mean, it was difficult for me. So it was just easier to stay home. 2 years ago, just before the accident, right when the pandemic hit, my kids and I really got back into Pokemon Go and going over the place. So during the pandemic, where we couldn't actually, the first few months of the pandemic, where we couldn't actually go outside, we couldn't go to the different things. We went in the car and we would just go all around the neighborhood.
Did you say Pokemon Go?
I said Pokemon Go.
Okay.
So that got us doing things. That got us, moving around more. But I had a car accident, which gave me a severe spinal injury that I ended up having surgery in the summer. So that was in the fall of 2020. So all the fall into the winter, I was bedbound. Totally, my life just changed in an instant. I was bedbound, and over the winter and over this, up to the spring, I was beginning to be able. Well, I was desperate to be able to get out of my room, and I had a friend that had given me a motorized wheelchair. So as soon as the snow went away, up to that point, anytime I went out, I was being pushed in a wheelchair, and that's, trying to get other people to take me out was very difficult. But when I had the wheelchair, all of a sudden, I could make myself go. I could take myself. I had control, and my life is very limited to the things I can do. I can do a lot of things. I can talk. I can think of things.
You can talk.
These 4 fingers work. Well, most of the time, as long as I've had enough coffee, as long as there's enough coffee in the system, I can talk. But I can write, and with my 4 fingers, it's slower and everything, but I still have that ability to do that. In my little office space here that I have, there are things that I can do. Outside of that, everything needs to be done for me. I need food made for me, brought to me. I need help with pretty well most other activities of daily living. Put me in a wheelchair, though, that I can control. I have movement ability, so I can go to people. When you're out and about, people can do things for you. Like go to a store, you can ask them to get things off the shelf.
Well, they can do that with you, right? Like when we came and met with you in Toronto, and didn't I enunciate that front? Yeah. So when Paulette, I laughed about the Pokemon Go, not in a derogatory way. Yeah. So Paulette, who, if you have listened to our other podcast, The Future Looks Good, Paulette is a huge Pokemon Go person. You are not a little, it is sometimes we will be out in public and she's like, hang on a second. I'm like, what are you doing? And she's checking her phone. And that's because some little bigamaroo has like binged up on her or whatever. And she's like, oh, I've been chasing so-and-so. And I was like, what are you on about? And Jason, our chief product nerd for Spiro Careers Canada, is also a Pokemon Go person. I have yet to jump on the band.
We're called trainers or masters, depending what you want to do.
Hey, Yoda, you can do whatever you want with the Pokemon Go. But I know Paulette uses the Pokemon Go when she goes out with her clients as a means of encouragement to get out, get walking, turn it into a game. That not only the positive reinforcement, but if you gamify the walk or you gamify the activity, then there is if I may, could I posit a theory that by adding a competitive element, right, you have that extra. So I do what are called conquerors challenges. If anybody's ever interested, and you can bike it, walk it, swim it, whatever you want to do, and it tracks your movement. I just got medal number 4 or 5 for however much I was walking. There's a whole bunch of ways to gamify it. So I laugh with Maddy, not at Maddy, because I think gamifying outdoor activity is fantastic.
So when I started first using the wheelchair and going, I was like, one of the first things I was doing was I was in my wheelchair going around and playing Pokemon Go. Every day I made sure I went out a bit because I wanted to catch things. But I look at I have an interesting take on the world. I see things in front of me as I'm living, in the first person, but I also see things topology. Like I'm always seeing things as a map view. So the interesting thing about Pokemon Go is that it's this alternate world sitting on top of the real world where things are. So now when I go about, all around the community, I am seeing the gyms and the Pokestops in as if they were in real life. I visualize.
Oh, like Free Guy.
Yeah, basically, it's just these glasses.
If you guys haven't seen Free Guy, it is. I'm going to watch it tonight. It is a really great movie with Ryan
Absolutely.
Reynolds and an excellent cast. And it just talks about, to me, it was all about our perception of the world and what happens when that veil is lifted. And I think that could speak volumes around white privilege. It can speak volumes around able privileged. It can speak volumes about how the neurotypical community tries to force the neurodiverse community to assimilate, and, they want the neurodiverse community to accommodate versus, adapting. There's all kinds of that. So if you haven't seen Free Guy, I think, wouldn't you say that that's kind of a simile?
It is. It's definitely lifting the veil. It's first of all seeing that there is a veil, understanding that the reality that the worldview that you see the world from is not the only worldview that exists.
100% agree.
It's one of the reasons why even online I make an effort to not have a very narrow, what's the word when you see everything,
view,
echo chamber. I make sure that
you want different opinions, you want different input, because totally agree.
I want to see things that I disagree with, and I want to see things that I agree with, and I want to see things that are in the middle, because I used to see things very black and white, right, and very rigid, which is a very a common autistic characteristic. I think a lot of my issues in my teens, 20s, and early 30s is because that black and white, very rigid view of things, allowed me to be susceptible to propaganda, susceptible to
sort of a narrow-minded view of
and but the thing is, I also have an issue with hypocrisy. So this is it. When you start seeing the veil slip, right, you start seeing that there's other views that might be right, that your view might be wrong.
Not wrong, but maybe different, right? Like there's ways to.
Yes.
I mean, some views are wrong. Killing people, wrong. Picking puppies, wrong. Doing other things,
absolutely
wrong.
Yes.
Going outside, there's various degrees.
And I remember I go back to some of the training I had in school. So I took journalism classes, I took ethics classes, I took civics. I was very much into it, and it's one of the things that I was taught in journalism by. I remember we went for a day, and I think with the Ottawa Citizen, and just talked with journalists. We had the publisher say the purpose of journalism is to like, we all have bias. We have to acknowledge the bias that we have, but our job as journalists is to try to present both sides of an issue as balanced as possible, and leave you, the reader, the decision of where the truth is. And there was a period of time in my 20s where I didn't do that. I was very, very black and white. And as I was starting to see, this veil slip, that there are other things, that other people can be right. One of the biggest issues that I had as a kid and into my 20s is that I thought that I was always right, that somebody had to prove me wrong, that, I had so many successes and so many things that I was right in, that it reinforced that very rigid black and white thinking.
That's common for that age group though, right? Because and I remember being quite stuck in that as well, because you think you're invincible and all the other things. But to your point about that narrow-minded black and white view, how would you say that gets in the way of people getting outside and understanding kind of the importance of what that could give their life?
So,
because if you're stuck in the no-go track, how do we, broaden that a little? So
I think there's two things that keep. I'll generalize this. I think it's not just autistics that have this challenge. There's two things I think that keep people from doing things outside, from going out, in general. One is the fear of how they're going to be seen, the social aspect, and then there could be fear of the environment, fear of
you mentioned fear of bugs. Yeah,
a lot of autistics have fear of bugs, they have fear of the noise, they have fear of how they'll react to the environment that they're going to be in
if they get overstimulated. Or there's a friend of mine, their daughter is not autistic, however, was for a very long time absolutely phobic about wind, which, later on in our series, Maddy made a really excellent suggestion about talking about sensory issues. And I wonder if part of it, this, no go outside thing, is sensory processing for things like wind, noise, sun, rain, all of those things that hit our skin.
Sand.
Well, I mean, if you're stepping out your front door, unless you live on a beach, you're unlikely to, get sand. But yes.
Okay, so just say, okay, stepping on grass. Okay, there's a difference in feeling of being in shoes. Socks. It can get to the point where it's the socks that's the issue, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't wear, if wearing socks is a real challenge, and it is for me, and it is like I wear socks to go out, and only then. And I don't care about matching socks. I love the process of matching socks because I like patterns of matching things. So I've always matched the kids' socks. I've never cared that they match their socks, but one of the ways I stopped the problem for me was I just bought black socks. I got rid of all of my socks. All my socks are black.
My husband did that.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, I now have a couple things, colorful socks that I wear in particular occasions because I want to, they're part of the outfit, but going out, I just wear black socks. But I don't like wearing socks, and my kids don't like wearing socks. But
I don't either. I don't have them on right now.
But there's one of my kids that really likes being barefoot all the time outside, and likes the feel and doesn't like the feel of being constrained by their feet. And so they're gonna go outside as much as possible with that. And if they're told they can't, then they're not going to go outside. Like, it becomes an issue. And I think sometimes the things we've experienced that we've been told we can't do, if we want to go out, we have to do it this way. And some part of that is a problem. Then it just creates this stop in us that later on another situation happens and we're blocked because of how we experienced in the past. So it's a challenge. Like, we're expecting a challenge, and we don't want to be challenged, and staying where you are. It's, there's another term for this. A general term is called autistic inertia. Like, we don't want to change from what we want to be, especially if we know we've had a challenge in this thing in the past. And the more times we've had these challenges in different situations, the more averse we are to doing it, even if there's a better and easier way for us to do it. It's just, it's a block that's put in front of us, and we need help and guidance to try doing things a different way. For example, just a simple thing, going out the front door, and maybe something happened and you had to wear particular things. Okay, so maybe try going out the back door where you haven't had the challenge, and you do things in the way that you're comfortable doing. It's a different thing in a different way. And the more you do that, then, I have found the more I've shifted my thinking to try things in a different way, away from the areas that I've had problems, it's less of an issue for me to go doing things the way I have had challenges.
You said something a little bit before that. You just said something very significant, though, you said it creates a stop.
Yeah.
And I think I like that, because we can create a stop and we can create a go.
Mm-hmm.
And recognizing that, placing what we feel is the right way, right? And my son and I battled this a little bit, because he just refuses to tie his shoelaces in such a way that doesn't present a trip hazard to me, right? And I get a little like, dude, you're 24, like, tie your shoes up properly. And now, bless his heart, he's like, Mom, seriously, it's not your problem. And I'm like, valid. Okay, like, good for you for telling me off, because you should.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to mommy you that way anymore.
My mom realized when I was like 7 or 8 that shoelaces and I were never going to get along. So Velcro shoes, and I live for, I believe Velcro shoes were one of the best things that happened to me, because I had significant struggles with tying laces. To be honest, I remember when I was in grade 2.
Sorry, Maddie, can you pause for I need to go yell at somebody. Can you pause for just 1 second? Yeah, just like that. Sorry about that, Maddie. And I might leave that in, I might not. So I'm coming to you from Tech Place in Burlington, which is an amazing co-working space. And we have a fantastic manager here, Isabella. And bless her heart, she decided it was a good time to start vacuuming, because a few months ago, actually last summer, I did a little plant fundraising, right? So I noticed a lot of people were putting out big ferns and beautiful palms and whatever. They were done with them for the season. Tech Place didn't have any greenery. So I actually went around my neighborhood and collected like 30 plants, brought them in. She's just been taking care of one of the ferns. It has made a mess everywhere. So she's decided to vacuum it up right now.
All right. So you've created a fern gully, and now she's got this sucky job to vacuum it up.
We are so lucky to be here, and she's so patient with me continuing to bring in more and more plants, because to me, okay, so this actually ties in. That's kind of funny. To me, any office without plants is so sterile. And we're on the 8th floor. We have no ability to open a window. And here it's almost like, I was going to make like a drug addict joke, but that's not really funny. It's like putting a chocolate bar, in front of a chocolate addict and saying, no, you can't have that. So the whole front of our tech place is floor to ceiling windows with views of Lake Ontario, with views of the Niagara Escarpment, with views of all the trees and all the whatever. And for somebody who, like you, loves being outside, gets energized by connecting with the earth in some capacity or another, getting my feet on the ground, whatever, I have to go down 8 floors to do that. So I brought some of the earth up to Tech Place, and it just changed. And Isabella says the same thing. Everybody says when they walk in now, what a difference it made, just having nature in here in some capacity. So I brought in houseplants. We now have a little sunshine area in the lunchroom where there is 2 palms, 2 orchids, and my daughter gave me this really cute sloth that grows the grass out of its head, like a chia. I don't know what it is, but cute as a button. So that's out there. And so I have just continued to kind of sneak plants in. And my puppy was in today, had to take my puppy down for a pee, discovered that somebody has dumped a relatively healthy looking cactus in an odd spot. And it's everything in my being not to go down and rescue the cactus and bring it up. So any plant issue, invariably somebody knocks at my door and says, can you help me fix this? And this honestly does tie together in that I have moderate anxiety, right? So manageable. For me, not medicated. I tried that. My family has a history of addiction and other things, and trying to manage my anxiety medicinally, pharmaceutically, was not successful. It caused me more stress to manage it that way. One of the things I do to help manage my anxiety, right? I am a body that needs to be active with a mind that is weak to get my ass outside. So what I have are huge gardens. I have 14 or 15 garden beds. They are cram packed with all kinds of perennials, as much like, Paulette's my business partner and other podcast host. She's sitting across from me right now. And she's come over to use our backyard as an office, and she'll attest that there's just plants everywhere. And the other thing I find, and I don't know if you have this, Maddy, and I would love to hear if you do, I find when I go near a tree, there's a couple of different things. Trees fascinate me on so many levels for what they do for the environment, for the interconnectedness that they've proven in a forest between trees, that energy exchange that happens between the tree and the earth and those who choose to recognize that and participate in it. We have a massive 40-foot linden in our front yard, and I will sometimes just go out and stand under it and look up, and the oxygen changes, my heart rate goes down, whatever. And then when the pandemic began, we started to hear about healthcare professionals who, of course, were bringing home, unimaginable stress. And what one person suggested was they would stop at a tree in their yard before they went in the house and just touch the tree and just take a moment and leave their day with the tree. And like, not in a hokey pokey way, but it's that shift of mindset between what we are dealing with during our day, what that tree is able to handle for us, and then moving into that going inside mindset to deal with family and life and what have you. So for me, getting my hands dirty, whether it's pruning my roses, whether it's deadheading some of the annuals, yesterday or the day before, I went out and picked a huge amount of rhubarb out of my garden. We have strawberries, we have raspberries, I'm growing potatoes. That connection to the earth is what helps me deal. Paulette and I recently went on a retreat, and one of the things that they did was called forest bathing. And we didn't get to because it had just pissed buckets, and so the trees would have soaked us. But we took a moment to just stand and listen. If all you can do is stand, whether it's concrete for you, whether it's driveway for you, whether it's front porch for you, and if you have an opportunity and like wherever you live, listen for a bird song. If it's not your thing around, if wind is not an issue, listen to how the wind talks to the tree and what the tree says. That's what I do. You're looking at me like I'm a little nutso, but that's okay.
No. I mean, Paulette might be, but I'm not.
No, Paulette knows I'm nutso, so it's okay.
For me, it's about bodies of water. I get fully recharged with just a glimpse, just a glimmer, just a glance at water. And water, I love big rivers. I love big lakes. I love small lakes. I love creeks. I love ponds. I love waterfalls. I love, like, for me, I discovered 2 years ago, shortly after I had surgery, that listening to listening to a playlist of just nature sounds, especially thunderstorms and the sound of water hitting rivers, sound of water hitting tin roofs, exactly. Ooh. All of it,
canvas.
It calms me down so much. And when I actually go, like, the sound of it calms me down. The sound of the rain and the wind calms me down.
Yeah.
But seeing it, being near it, recharges me more than anything else does. And I have a couple places around town that I like to go to. Like every day, like if I have a stressful day, I go out for, as long as it's not raining and pouring out, because that's
you're gonna rust up like a tin man if you do that.
If my wheelchair was safe, I'd go out in the rain because I love being out in the rain, but I just can't do it so much right now.
Yeah.
But as long as it's not raining, every day I go and I spend at least a 10 or 15 minute thing. But if I'm having a stressful day, I'm going to go down to the river. I'm going to go to the bridge and just sit in the middle of. We have a pedestrian bridge in our town, and I'll just sit in the middle of it and I'll watch the waterfalls and the rapids and just listen. Like looking at it recharges me. Listening to it calms me down more than anything else. It's like
it's I have self-regulation and that self-recognition.
Oh my gosh.
That you just made a really important point, like a crazy important point, which is 10 to 15 minutes. We are in no way suggesting that you need to get out and spend the entire day, because that's not reasonable and can be unmanageable. However, Maddy just made a really incredibly important point, not only about how nature affects them, but how they manage their disabilities, right? Be it the sensitivities of being autistic or the sensitivities that have come from the accidents and created other challenges. And they've found the opportunities to be able to go and connect to what helps them. Could we say recalibrate?
Like recalibrate's a great word. Reset, recalibrate,
reconnect,
strengthen. Yep. It's all of those positive words that move you forward.
And that's the other thing that you said earlier that was really important, is that, and Paulette and I talk about this a lot, and we're working on an e-learning series. And one of the things that I kind of championed, and Paulette's amazing in that she'll listen to my craziness and then I'll explain how I believe it connects to the autism community, but then she'll validate or invalidate, and rightly so. She's far more of an expert working with a wider variety of people who are autistic. I have my one experience with my son and how I've raised him and managed and whatever, but that whole one person with autism. Her experience has been that when we get into a pattern of isolation and staying inside and whatever, for whatever means, that ends up having far more negative consequences than making a 10-minute change could have, right? So 10 minutes of whatever works for you, whether it is, I love the idea of sitting out on the porch. I make a smoothie every morning, right? So I give myself, it's spinach and protein powder and a whole whack of stuff. And if it's pouring rain, I just have the front door open and windows down, but I can smell the rain and I can hear the rain, right?
And the smell immediately for the 5 minutes to hour after a storm, the smell
called
changes.
trachor.
Yeah, I grew
Something
up
core.
all my life not having a sense of smell. Like, but actually, that's not true.
All right.
I could smell things that no one else could. I would smell an intense smell very strongly, and then it would dissipate right away, like a skunk. It's like, okay, I smell a skunk, and then it's gone. I just couldn't smell anything more than that. But there's other things that I could smell that no one can do.
Yeah.
Like I've the way I describe it is like there's a spectrum of smells. Like everything has a smell. Every single thing in the universe has a smell. Not everybody can smell those things.
Not
but
everybody
they do.
can
So
smell rain. And man, they
scent
don't know
free,
what they're
exactly.
missing.
But after about 2015, I had a doctor that actually put a scope up my nose and said, two things. You don't have a sinus and sinus cavity above your eyebrows, which it's some people don't have. So all of the mucus and everything just gets clogged closer.
Okay.
But I had a 97% deviated septum.
I was about to say that's
Yeah,
like
so I had surgery, and all of a sudden I could smell in 3 dimensions. Like I could not only
farts took on
smell
a whole
things,
new meaning.
I could smell things far away, and I could figure out where things were. It's like, holy crap! Does everybody have this, or is this like yeah? Then I started smelling the storms, like the after effect of the storms.
Coming.
And yeah, I could smell it coming. I could smell the pressure change of the atmosphere. It's like it's really, really weird stuff. But I love the smell after a storm so much.
It's clean.
So calm. Yes, it's like you're also smelling. If you're in a city, you're smelling the pavement, which has a nice after scent of after things get wet. Not concrete, but asphalt. And I discovered it through no asphalt of my own.
Got to slide one in there. So, one of the reasons we began talking about this is like from personal experience, I find nature very healing and calming, and that connection to the earth's energy, and not in a hokey pokey way. That is a physically, scientifically proven thing, around ley lines, around the earth's energy and what it gives out and what it creates and what plants create for us and how we connect and what have you with that. But I have seen, when my son is in a rough place, I don't think he even realizes he's isolating more than he is. However, I also don't want to create a stop for him and impose on him what I think, I will remind him if I know it's been a day and all he's done is walk the dog for 20 minutes. I also know he is a body that needs activity and a mind that will believe being busy in the mind is the same as being physically active. It is not.
Yeah.
It is not the same. If you are gaming, if you are reading, if you are whatever you are doing and you're doing a lot of that, just because your brain is tired doesn't mean you've actually done anything.
Yeah.
And that's where we have to create a connection to make a go.
Yeah.
And go outside 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Folks, that's all we're saying.
And this was one of the reasons why I think Pokemon Go is so helpful to a lot of us, because it layers a game in the world. I stopped playing Pokemon Go about 5 months ago because they made some changes that have made it very, very difficult for people with disabilities to play anymore.
Is that,
and that was
feedback
that was very frustrating. We gave it to them, and it looked like they were going to continue to do things so that we could play. But when the pandemic hit, they changed so many things so you could play at home. They expanded the distance between the things that you need to discover, and that made it for the first time accessible to people who are in wheelchairs, accessible to people who have mobility issues.
Yeah,
they decided that they really wanted people to go back out and playing, and so they wanted to bring it back to the way it was before the pandemic. And unfortunately, it was limiting for people with disabilities before.
You should be able to choose your user experience, right? Like if they have both available, then you should be able to choose how you engage with the platform.
And I missed that. I really enjoyed, there was a community of people that played it, that we all got together online. And I was looking forward to it's experienced that with people outside as well. So I miss that. When I go around, I'm still seeing the stops. I'm still seeing the gyms in my virtual eye, and it's in it, and
your own free guy game.
Yeah, but I'm still going out and doing stuff, exploring my town as much as I can. And I love going to when I can make accessible transportation happen. I can get out. I've gone to Montreal. I've gone to Toronto a couple of times, and I love to explore and see what's out there as much as I possibly can. I think the gamifying angle is
Yeah.
a great way,
Agreed.
to take what the autistics are, many of us are
Where they already are.
like, yeah, they're already playing whatever we're doing online. If there's an avenue to shifting us in, to IRL in real life, that's a great way. But we can't be forced. If we're forced, we're going to create the stops, and the stops there are, the more stops there are, the harder it is. They're cumulative, and
because we got to wrap up, because I'm
all
totally
right.
on board with the creating the goes. We have to come up with a rapper name for you now. Thanks. Cookie Von Unicorn.
MCJD. MCJD is what I used to call myself.
I see Cookie
MCJD.
Von Unicorn, but that's just me. That could be your drag queen name. Cookie Von Unicorn. That'd be an amazing drag queen name. Don't you think? Like, we've gone off on a different tangent here, but that would be an amazing
that's fine.
drag queen name.
Yes.
Okay. So
I was thinking about, I have a friend who I do podcasts with the YA podcast. They do they make stuffed animals, and I had this idea. I love bunnies, and sometimes I'll put some of my bunnies in my background.
Yeah.
I've been collecting bunnies since, like, that's the stuffed animals that I have. I save them, that's what I do. But I got her to create one with so it was a unicorn, a unibunny.
A unibunny or a bunnicorn?
Yes.
So folks, if you're listening and any of this has resonated with you around, maybe you are staying inside a bit too much, and maybe that's become a habit. The good news is, if you've created the habit, you can also create a new habit. And change can be an ako taco thing, but there's so much to be gained out of identifying the behaviors that might be holding you back. And one of them can be staying inside too much. And with the summertime, there are definitely stops that get created as far as if there's phobias around bugs or wind or whatever. But if my good friend can navigate numerous physical challenges, as well as being autistic, and find solace in a 10-minute outside activity, I can assure you that there is a way. If it is as simple as standing on your front porch, if it is as simple as walking to the end of your driveway and just seeing what's happening. If you live in an apartment building, there is always a walkway out the front door. Can you get yourself out to the end of the walkway today for a couple of minutes? If you turn left or right from your walkway and you see a bus bench, can you go spend 5 minutes listening to something on your phone or whatever? If you listen to a podcast, if you listen to a gaming show, if you listen to whatever, there's no reason you can't listen to that outside. We're not asking you to go out and run a marathon. We're not saying you got to chase Pokemon Go at full tilt. But sunshine and nature, in some capacity, have a very restorative, recalibrating effect that can help make change easier, can help with any kind of mental stress going on, can help if you happen to have a code diagnosis of anxiety or social disorder or what have you. Even if your only choice today is to open up a window and stand in front of the window and let the wind come at you or what have you, if that's what you do today, that's amazing. If you didn't do it yesterday and you never felt fresh air and you never looked at the sun, and all you do today is open up a window, right? You now have protection from any bugs that might freak you out. You are able to shut the window if the wind becomes too much. If the noise level is too high, okay, shut the window for now, because it's all outside and you have control, much like Maddy has taken control of their situation with their chair, what they can navigate, what they can't, and worked within those constraints. You have the ability to open that window as wide as you want to, and you have the control to close it when you've had enough.
We all need to experience the vitamin C. Need that.
I didn't get that pun. That went right over my
vitamin C and D, because you need C, D, and sun.
Well, you don't get C from the sun, but if you want to eat an orange while standing at the window, then you could accomplish both.
I thought
you were going there.
Yes.
But I give you a D in, anyway.
Okay.
So if you have suggestions, Maddy just made a great point that, gamifying, getting outside is a cool thing. I know there was a company here in Tech Place, and I want to say it was called Kids Connections. something to that effect. And it gamified getting outside. So you unlocked levels, the more activity you logged. That was kid focused. But if there's an app that you're using to gamify getting outside, if there is an app you're using that inspires you to get outside and how to manage things, would love to hear from you. Like, post it in the comments of wherever you're listening to this. Same thing. You can, we haven't set up an email for this yet, but my email is elizabeth@spirocareerscanada.ca. You're more than welcome to send it there. But we want to build resources, right? To Maddy's point around being narrowly focused. If the app you have been using, like Pokemon Go, has, crap the bed a little on what you need, okay, let's find something else. Let's pool our resources as an amazing community and share what we've got, right? You can visit our Socially ASD Facebook group, drop it in there. There's all kinds of ways to communicate and collaborate so you can create a connection to get your little butt outside and eat an orange while sitting in the sun.
Yeah, I'm game for that.
Cookie, what are you doing to me, man? You went all fuzzy. Like, see, even your webcam didn't.
Yes, because I laughed too hard. So I moved.
Got scared.
Yeah.
All right. You are one of my favorite people. So we are gonna wrap up today. Maddy and I had a great conversation yesterday. Okay, you're freaking me out. Can you fix your camera?
Sure.
That's not success. There you go. About a variety of topics that they feel would be really important to chat about. And the cool thing is that Maddy comes at it from one point of view. I come at it from another. We each have lived experiences in a variety of capacities. We should probably stick to Thursdays and Paulette across from us, because she nods and makes little whoop whoops and does whatever. It's awesome.
Yes.
It's like having an audience.
It's a living audience. Exactly.
A living audience as opposed to our dead audience. Oh Lord. I think we both need to get outside today.
As opposed to a virtual audience.
Virtual audience. Got it.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm so tired. I have a new puppy. He's tiring me out. So thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate you having a listen. If you have any suggestions, again, about how you get outside, what that looks like for you. And just a reminder, that the opening and the closing the window thing, I'm not being trite. That is an accomplishment. And as I shared, I think on our other podcast, I have recently gained an appreciation for how sensory issues can impact your life with my hearing situation that's ongoing right now. So if you choose to stand with an open door, open window, open something, congrats to you. That's incredible. And I mean that sincerely. You choose to get outside and go to the end of the walkway. That's phenomenal. You want to go chase Pokemon like Paulette and Maddy do? She's very excited. She's like, yeah, gonna go get one of them little buggers. I think that's awesome. However you get outside. I do Conqueror's challenges. I get shiny medals for doing that, which helps my competitive streak. Let us know. We want to hear from you.
Every step is valuable, right? Every step 100%. You make is valuable.
There's a song there somewhere. Every step you take, every move
is valuable. Yes, I'll be watching.
No, that's gonna like conspiracy theory the crap out of people. We are not.
I'll be watching you. Yeah. I will be watching you. Hey. Always watching.
Cookie, come on, man. I have to apologize because I have tried to make a commitment to not use man, but the man keeps coming out. I'm trying not to do that, but we have discussed that man appears to have become a universal word, because I know my daughter and her friends use it with each other and what have you. So I'm trying my best. It's 45 years of using it. I'm working on it. We're getting there. Okay. We are good for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Maddy, as always, my little unicorn sparkle happiness. You are a pleasure, and I appreciate you sharing your experience. And I appreciate your vulnerability in sharing what your life is like with your challenges. Paulette just about fell out of her chair, so that kind of ruined the moment, but there you go.
Well, thank you again. I look forward to coming back for each episode.
We got more. So if you're listening, today is June 30th. Tomorrow is woohoo Canada Day. If you are respectful of the Indigenous community, recognize that there are positives and negatives to celebrations tomorrow. And if you are engaged with the Indigenous community, please be respectful of that as well. Wear an orange shirt to just be inclusive. We won't get into that little cluster of crazy, but be inclusive, please. Be respectful, be understanding, and have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Okay. If you don't say bye-bye, they don't
I
hear
said
you.
bye. I did say bye.
You said bye like
Listen.
under your, say a break. Come on.
All right. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us today on the Autistic Rambler podcast. Please visit us on social media on Facebook and Instagram at Autistic Rambler, or visit our website, autisticrambler.com, to read, listen, and watch more from Maddy Dever. Please like, follow, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen or watch. And enjoy the rest of your day.